Hopefully you're able to see the screen without any trouble. We are presenting on the Centralized Accommodation Fund this morning. There have been some changes for fiscal year 2021, and we wanted to make sure everyone is aware of that. Before we get started, I have a note here to please mute your microphone, but we have actually gone ahead and muted everyone. Just type in the chat or raise your hand if you have a question. In addition to myself, I've got our Accommodation Fund team members on the call also. We've got Stacy Christensen, who is our director at Department of Admin Community Services. She oversees a group of agencies, or a group of programs, and Accommodation Fund falls under that umbrella for her. Additionally, I have Joan Gillum on the line with us this morning. She works also with the Accommodation Fund. We're the ones who really process and manage the day-to-day of the program. So at the end, you'll have contact information. If you ever have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to help. No question is too big or too small, so keep that in mind. We're going to use the chat feature for any technical issues or questions that you may have, and we will also be recording this presentation this morning. There were a number of people who were unable to attend, so we want to make sure that they will have access to the information. So what we're going to do is we're going to just kind of give you a little information on why we're holding this meeting this morning. We'll do a brief overview of the Accommodation Fund for any of you who have not worked with it in the past. We want to make sure you have a good understanding. We'll share the submission deadline dates for 2021. Then I think we'll jump off and show you the website for the Accommodation Fund. We will also show you the Fondant grant portal, and that is going to be the site where we're asking everyone to submit their applications. It is the same site that we've used in the past, although I know some of you have not used the portal. You have submitted via Excel spreadsheets, and we're going to try to encourage everyone to use the portal going forward. Hopefully at the end we will have time for questions and answers. So if you have a question, feel free to go ahead and just type it in, and we will discuss that at the end. I mentioned that we would go over why we're doing this. So recently there was an audit by the Office of the Legislative Auditor of a number of different disability-focused agencies or programs, pardon me. And the Accommodation Fund was one of those programs that was audited. Things went well, but we certainly were enlightened to things that we could do better. So we did start a continuous improvement project that was conducted October of 2019 through March of 20. And we put together a cross-agency group of people who are directly involved with the fund, and just reviewed the process thoroughly. We looked at the existing process, we looked at the documentation and the website, and hopefully the work that we did was good, and you guys will be able to submit easily. And if you have questions or suggestions, please let us know, because this is a work in progress. A little history on the background: the state legislature approved the fund during the 2015 legislative session. They directed the Department of Admin to manage the day-to-day of the fund. In 2017, the legislature changed reimbursement amounts to allow up to 50% of the cost of expenses incurred. Now, really what that means is if you as an agency submit a $1,000 expense and are looking for reimbursement, the maximum amount that you could get back is $500. If you got a $500 reimbursement, it doesn't mean that you did anything wrong. It's just the maximum allowable amount that can be reimbursed. All executive branch agencies are eligible for reimbursement. Minnesota Department of Admin is authorized to provide reimbursements for 3 different types of reasonable accommodations. Those types are any expenses for applicants for employment in any amount. The one caveat here is that a decision needs to be made in regards to if the agency is going to hire that applicant or not. You could still submit those expenses if the person was not hired, but a hiring decision has to be made before you can submit those expenses. The second area would be expenses for current employees for services, keyword there, services, that are provided on a periodic or ongoing basis. An example of that would be like a cart captioner or an ASL interpreter. Maybe there's an employee who is unable to drive and they need a driver. That would also be an expense that could be submitted. And then lastly, one-time expenses for a current employee that total $1,000 for any single employee in a fiscal year. An example here would be if the employee needed JAWS software. That software costs more than $1,000, so you could submit that. Another example I want to make sure and point out to you is if that employee needs some type of accommodation and it's less than $1,000. Let's say they need a customized keyboard and it's $500. Make sure you save that invoice and just keep an eye on that employee. If they have other needs or purchases during the same fiscal year and those expenses total $1,000 or more, you can submit all of those together, the combined invoices, if they total over $1,000 and they're the same fiscal year. Also keep in mind if you have any expenses that you've recently discovered from a prior year, you cannot submit those. We're only going to accept expenses for this fiscal year 2021. We've got on the screen now the actual submission deadline dates for fiscal year 2021. And they are posted already on the Accommodation Fund website. I'm not going to read through them all right now. You guys can either make a note of them now or go to the website, which will show you the website, and have access to those dates. I will mention the first deadline is going to be October 26th, and that will be for Q1 expenses. So expenses July 1st through the 30th. I did want to mention on this page that if you do have expenses for an employee in October, let's say, and you don't get that invoice until February, you can submit it at any time as long as it's during the current fiscal year. So don't worry if you don't get the invoices by quarter end, you could still submit them as long as there are still funds available in the program. So as I mentioned early on, we're going to encourage all submitters to use the grant portal rather than the Excel document. We're going to really work hard on doing a lot of data tracking, and if applicants or submitters are using this portal, we're going to get much more cohesive information, and it's just going to really help us in data tracking. We know that for some individuals, the website may not work well. We did have accessibility testing done. We were told that it is accessible, but usability is a question. Some individuals may not find this website very usable. So please reach out to us at the Accommodation Fund. We're more than happy to work with you. If you're not able to use or access the website, we will continue with the Excel document template. Another new feature this year is going to be an access code. For those of you who have submitted in prior years, you may have noticed a box on the website that mentioned an access code, and in the past we did not require that. This year we're going to require that, and the reason is we have had situations in the past where people who were not authorized to submit applications did, and that was a problem. So what we're doing now is we are requiring the access code. It will be the same access code for the entire fiscal year, so don't worry about that. It's not something that you're going to have to remember from quarter to quarter, but we're really just trying to limit who indeed is making application submissions. Another new feature is you're going to be able to submit for multiple applicants at one time. For some of you, that won't be a problem. A lot of agencies are just going to submit maybe for one person at a time, one person a quarter. But we do have some agencies that submit, I don't know, upward of 15 different employees. And in the past, they would have to do one employee at a time, and it was very time consuming. And they usually then used the Excel spreadsheet. So we're going to show you today how you as a submitter of multiple applicants can do it all at once. And I think right now would be a good time for me to stop sharing my screen. Bear with me as I maneuver. We were on a call yesterday and we were talking about how we're using so many different platforms, and it gets kind of confusing and you're like, oh goodness, what button do I press? So we just press a lot of buttons until we get what we need. But what I want to do right now is I want to go ahead and share, whoops, bear with me again. I'm going to share the website with you, a couple different websites to, excuse the pause in action here. I had the website up and it went away, so we're going to get it back up. Here we go. And tell me, I believe you're able to see it. Stacy, could you please let me know that you're seeing the
yes, it's up.
You're seeing the website?
Yep, the website's
okay.
up.
Excellent, because it's showing me something different. So, all right, what you've got on your screen then is the Accommodation Fund webpage. So, the information I shared with you is also on this website in regards to the history of the fund. I'm going to scroll down a little bit. I'll try to scroll slowly so I don't make everyone dizzy. We're going to go to about midway down the page. As I mentioned in the continuous improvement project, we went through and we really deeply dug into this website and made sure that all the information is current and accurate. For those of you that are not new to the program, this is going to look very similar to what it did in the past. We made a few minor changes, but today what I wanted to highlight was in the center of the screen, there's an Apply for Reimbursement tab. We're going to click on that and bring that up. There's a training guide. This is new and it follows what we've done for this new updated process. We've got a new training program video that will walk you through the process. So the idea here is if you get confused and you just need a little help, you prefer video versus print, this is an option for you. We do also have a transcript in PDF of the video online. So there's a few different options for you to go ahead and refresh your memory and just learn how this process works. The next thing I'm going to point out is the online application form. So this is the actual grant interface that we're going to spend, I think, probably a bulk of our time on. So I'm going to click on that link right now. And again, I'm going to ask Stacy, are you seeing the login page?
Yes, I sure am.
Okay, wonderful. So the login page is going to ask for your email address and your password. If you have submitted in the past, that information is all the same. If you have not submitted before, please reach out to us at the Accommodation Fund. We will go ahead and register you and send you a password, so then you are able to log on. So we're going to hit log on. And we are, bear with me a moment, I'm just going to move my screen because it's blocked a little bit here. Okay. So what I need to do is I need to go ahead and show you what it looks like. So bear with me while I get to a user that will work. So when you log in, normally what it's going to look like is this. So here is the applicant dashboard. You're going to hit apply. And as I mentioned, we're going to have an access code this year. This is where you enter the code. You can make a note of this, but I can send an email out afterwards. The access code that we will be using this year is capital C, capital A, capital F, Centralized Accommodation Fund 2020. So the code again is CAF 2021. I apologize, I think I stated it wrong, but we'll enter that code. And then we see Centralized Accommodation Fund. It says, please note. So this first box is going to give you just commonly asked questions, basically. It's going to tell you when you could submit applications. And there's a blue button that says apply. So we will hit that blue button. And now we are to the actual application process. We're going to scroll down a little bit. Again, we have some commonly asked questions. These are live links, or there's live links where needed. So let's just go through the process of actually submitting. And for those of you that have submitted in the past, this is where we're going to see the changes. So the first question is consent form. It's asking you if you have a signed consent form from the employee saying that they consent with this process. If the answer to the question below is no, you're done. You cannot proceed. A consent form is mandatory. We at the Accommodation Fund do not want the consent form. We are just asking that you do have one on file. Next would be other funding sources. So we're asking you to confirm that this accommodation is not eligible for any other type of funding sources, such as workman's comp. There is a training guide, as I mentioned, so you can read through that if you're not sure. If the answer to the question is no, then this does not qualify. This is not something that you could submit. So the answer is yes, I'm confirming that there is no other type of funding available. No, I'm reading that wrong. I'm apologizing here now, sorry. The answer actually is no. There are no other type of funding sources available. I'm getting a little confused there because we've changed this from the way it was worded in the past. In the past, it was a little confusing on, it wasn't common sense, so we switched it to common sense. No, there are no other funding options available, so we'll move on. Please check the current quarter in which you are submitting. So the example is, if today's date is April 8th, you will submit quarter 4. Please don't worry about the date of the invoice. I had mentioned you could submit in quarter 4 for expenses from quarter 1. We're not asking you when the invoice is from, we're asking you when you're actually submitting. So we're going to be submitting for quarter 1. We'll click on that button. Next, it's going to ask what type of accommodation. So we talked about that a little bit in the beginning. If you're not sure, you can refer to the informational training guide. But we're going to say this is an expense for a job applicant. So then the question pops up, if it was made for an applicant, was the applicant hired? So I will say yes, the applicant was hired. Then we're going to specifically mention what type of accommodation it was. This is all information that we're just tracking because we report back to the legislature what type of accommodations we're seeing for employees and applicants. Other would maybe be, obviously it's going to be something that does not fall in this category. We sometimes see expenses maybe for sensory needs. We have individuals who maybe have light sensitivity or chemical sensitivity. So those would be examples of other. Outstate is the next question. Is the employee or applicant outstate? And all we're asking there is their base office in the metro area or not? So we're going to say no, they are not in the metro. Amount. So here's where things change a little bit for you. So please enter the total cost of the accommodation for applicant number 1. So keep in mind, if you are submitting for multiple applicants, we are not looking for the total, the combined total of all the applicants. We're just looking for this one applicant that you're working on right now. So we're going to say it's $1,000. Now what we're asking you is to please upload the invoice or the receipt. Keep in mind that we will only accept PDF uploads. If your invoice or your receipt is not a PDF, we're going to ask you to scan it and save it as a PDF and send it to us that way. Documents may need to be combined to allow for one PDF to be uploaded. In order to keep not public data private, please redact individuals' names from backup documents submitted. This is very, very important. We do not want to see the employee's name at all. It's very important that their privacy is kept. We do find on a lot of invoices, in particularly invoices for captioners or interpreters, it does state the name of the employee or their last name. So we ask that you redact that out before you submit that to us. Also, if you are submitting for more than one applicant, we're going to ask you at this point now to submit all of the application or all of the invoices at one time. So if you are submitting, let's say for 3 applicants, make a note on the invoices which applicant they're for. If you are confused by this or this seems like a lot of work or a problem, feel free to reach out to us. We can give you examples of how individuals are doing this. But usually what people will do is in the lower corner of the invoice, maybe on the left side or the right side, they'll write applicant 1. And then if there's 5 pages for that applicant, on each page, please write applicant 1, applicant 1. We do go through all of these. We vet all of these. We thoroughly review them. We make sure that there's no expenses on there that are not allowable. We make sure that the dates are appropriate. We're confirming that there's no duplicate invoices sent. But we really need to know which applicant they apply to. And if you have 5 pages for applicant 1, we're going to total up all 5 pages and make sure that it matches the dollar amount that you've entered in the amount for that applicant. Stacy, I have a question for you. Are there any questions popping in at this point?
Nothing in the chat other than the closed captioning is working. I have it up on my screen. You should have a way to turn that on in the lower right corner of your screen. There should be 3 dots, and one of the options should be closed captions. But that is the only question I have seen in the chat. One question that just popped up, is this being recorded or can we get a copy of the PowerPoint? It is being recorded. Amy, you can answer the PowerPoint question.
Thanks, Stacy. I can share the PowerPoint. There's not a lot on the PowerPoint itself, but on the website, we do have an amazing video recording of basically what I'm doing right now. So those resources will be available. And again, feel free to reach out with any questions. No question is too small as far as we're concerned. And I know that the part we're at right now probably seems a little confusing. So I just wanted to, reiterate that. Okay, so we're going to upload our file and you just click and I'm just going to attach a document that's a PDF. And so it should look like this. You should see, that it shows that there is a PDF attached, so you're good to go. Smart Agency. This is really going to only apply to one approved submitter. I'm not sure if she's on the call today. If she is, she knows who she is. Are you working for the Department, easy for me to say, are you working for the Department of Administration and applying on behalf of a smart agency? The smart agency is really just a group of really small agencies, and they've hired someone to manage, is basically a short version of what we're talking about here. So I'm going to say no. And then it's going to ask, do you want to submit for a separate applicant? If you don't, you click no, and then you will scroll over to the blue button that says submit application, and you will submit the application. It's as simple as that. If you do want to submit for a separate applicant, you will hit submit, and then all of the same questions pop up. What we've done here, though, I'm going to scroll back to the top. In the past, what was done was you would have to enter your name, your email, your telephone number, all of that information. We've changed on the back end the applicants or the users, and we have all of that information entered. So historically, what would happen is every time you would make a submission, you would have to re-enter all of that information. And right now you don't. So this is why it's going to be a little bit quicker and a little bit easier, because that information is already in there, and hopefully it will make the process much quicker. So here we go. Sorry again for the scrolling. So I'm going to scroll back down, and I'm going to say submit application, which it's not going to work because I didn't fill anything in for the second employee. So let's do that just so we can see what it looks like. And bear with me here. We're going to say periodic and ongoing. So as you can see, we can do different types of accommodations. Everything is unique for each applicant. Does not apply. We're going to say it's a physical mobility, which probably is not accurate for an ongoing. Bear with me. We're going to remove that. An ongoing could also be, besides interpreter or a driver, it could be a subscription. We are starting to see agencies purchasing software for individuals that has maybe an annual subscription or a quarterly subscription. So that is something that we would consider an ongoing expense. Just a side note there. We're going to say $1,000 again. And we're not going to submit a third application. So then we hit the submit process or submit application. And we get the green line, the green bar that says your application has been submitted. And we will hit continue, and that's really the bulk of what we wanted to show you in regards to the application process and what that website looks like. You will get an email to confirm that you have successfully submitted the application. And then what will happen, hang on a second here, apparently I can't do two things at once. So I'm going to try to stop sharing my screen. And I can't see it because it's the big orange button that's jumping out at me. Okay, so you will get an email confirmation that goes, that comes to you in your mailbox and tells you that you have successfully submitted. We on the back end also get a notice that you have submitted. Oftentimes what happens is if we're swamped and just not able to review the applications as they come in, we may not get to them until the end of the quarter. So that's kind of the purpose of the quarter deadline. So then we'll go ahead and review them. If everything looks good and there's no questions, you will get an email confirming that we've received it and everything looks good. You then will get an email in the future once the application has been approved. We note in that approval email the dollar amount of the award, and you will then be asked to generate an invoice or have your financial department generate an invoice and submit it to the accommodation fund. And we will then go ahead and process it for payment. So that piece has not changed. That's really the same. The biggest change is the process for submitting on the grant portal. As I mentioned earlier, we really want you to use that grant portal. We can work with you if you can't. And then on the grant portal, the ability to go ahead and submit multiple applications at one time. Okay, Stace, do we have any questions?
I do not see any questions. Oh, no, take that back. There are a couple of questions. Hold on, this is very small for me. Okay, the first one, what happens if we have multiple budgets that we submit for, but they are all under the same division? Sometimes a single invoice is split between multiple programs.
How about, who did that question come from?
That is from Christina Anderson.
Good morning, Christina. Let's talk offline. That's a unique situation. I'm thinking we can still do it the way I showed you online here, but I'm thinking we will still want to go ahead and use the Excel spreadsheet that you've submitted in prior years, just to try to help keep everything straight. Okay.
One more question. Consent form. Is it okay to use the same consent form year to year, meaning the employee only completes the consent form once?
Yes, thank you for asking that question. That is certainly fine. We just want to know that you have a consent form. Obviously, if something changes where you would feel a need for a new consent form, that's on you. And again, we never see them, so whatever process you guys use currently is fine. We certainly aren't trying to dictate to you how you do your process. So that's fine. Long answer for a short question.
And then Christina just said, I asked too soon. I can add that info on the invoice request.
Absolutely, that will work just fine. I'm curious, how many of you are new to the accommodation fund? If you are, just write in the chat feature new, and then we can take a look at how many new individuals we have. And if you have not had an opportunity to connect with us at the fund, feel free to send us an email. We'll go ahead and take a look at whoever was new, and then I'll make sure that you do have a login. And if you don't, we'll go ahead and send you one after this meeting. Another thing that I wanted to make sure and cover and mention to you guys is about the Minnesota STAR program. So in addition to the accommodation fund, Joan Gillum and Stacy Christensen, the three of us are the STAR program. And if you're not familiar with the STAR program, we are housed within Department of Administration, and we are a federal program, and we serve all Minnesotans, all disabilities, all ages. The reason I'm mentioning it to you today is because in the program we have a device lending library, and we have tons and tons of equipment available. And for those of you who are not new to the program, you probably are aware of STAR and the services we offer. And it's been really exciting as the accommodation fund has grown, because a lot of the ADAs or HR folks have reached out to the STAR program and have borrowed devices for employees or new hires who maybe are looking at some technology or trying to figure out what technology works best for them before the agency actually purchases the equipment. So you can borrow it from the STAR program at no cost and try it out with the employee. That said, any of you, your families, your coworkers are also welcome to reach out to the STAR program and borrow equipment, or reach out to any of us staff members to learn about equipment that we have available, or if there's certain technology that you're interested in, you're just not sure if it's available. If we're not able to answer any questions, we work closely with the different agencies such as Department of Human Services Deaf, Hard of Hearing. We work with State Services for the Blind. So that's just some examples of different services that we offer. I did see a question come in from Hannah. Hannah was asking if we offer sit stands. We do have a couple. One is actually checked out on an open-ended loan program, which I can share with you how that works. We do also have another one in the office. The issue is right now in regards to COVID, so not everyone is in the office. Most people are not in the office. The sit stand that we have that would be available for demo or loan is one that sits on top of a desk. It would hold comfortably a laptop and a small monitor. It is one that is manual, so you would have to use your hands to raise and lower it. Hannah, I can reach out to you offline with the specifics on that sit stand. If you have an employee who wanted to try it, we would have to work through leadership just to figure out the logistics on how to get that device. STAR is currently loaning out our devices all non-contact. So what we do is we mail the equipment to consumers, although the sit stand, I don't even want to think about how we'd mail that. So we'd have to get special permission on arranging the exchange. Any other questions that you can think of, please put them in the inbox. I can tell you a couple of the devices that have been really popular. We have a bank of iPads, and these iPads are set up for specific disabilities. So for example, we have one iPad that is geared toward individuals who are blind or low vision. If you have worked with people, or if you yourself are someone who has vision loss or is blind, you will know that these apps are very expensive. So what's nice about having these dedicated devices is you can try out numerous apps. Our blind low vision device has probably $2,000 worth of apps on it. So it gives the borrower the opportunity to try multiple apps without investing any money. Another example that I'd like to share would be hearing amplification devices. Before COVID, we had some room amplifiers that were very popular. The device is called Red Cat, and it's a mobile amplification device where if agencies were having meetings and they found that there was either no speakers or sound systems in the rooms, but they knew that it was hard for individuals to hear the speaker, they could borrow this device on what we call a temporary accommodation. And people really loved this device and felt that it was very effective. It's nice to know that that's available to the agencies. It costs about $1,000. And so to use that device for, just a brief meeting, it's great to know that a resource is available like that, and it's not going to cost anything for you. I think that's about all I had. I know that it did not take the full hour, which is good. I know everyone is busy, and I don't want to keep you any longer than need be if there are no final questions. Otherwise, Stacy and Joan, you're both on the call. Please let me know if if you have anything you'd like to add. I did unmute you, Joan, if you wanted to chime in at all.
Hey, Amy, this is Stacy. I don't have anything to add other than thank you so much for putting this presentation together and all of the materials and the website updates. And I will echo the Red Cat. It's an awesome tool if we ever back to doing more in-person presentations in the office. We've used it many times with an admin, and it works just great. So I would echo Amy's thoughts on that one. And I don't see any other questions in the chat at this point, but I'll let you know.
Okay. And how about you, Joan? I really did unmute you now.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, because before I tried. No, I'm good. I think we had a lot of good information, and I'm wondering if sometime we could send out some links to some of the devices that we think we would help work agencies, like the Red Cat and some of the mics.
Okay. Yep. That is certainly possible. And that comment, Joan, actually it reminds me to mention to the group here, we do have an email group that we go ahead and send notices out. So we do try to send reminders out to everyone as deadlines are approaching, even though it's on the website. I know we're all busy, it's easy to forget. So we do try to send out reminders. If there's any changes or important news that we feel you want to know about it or know about, we'll put that in there. I would love to see in the chat box though, is notifications in regards to popular devices or anything like that something that you would be interested in receiving emails about, or would you prefer to see it on the website? If you're interested, just type yes and then comma, put email or website. Because I'm trying to be we're trying to be respectful of your time and your mailboxes, because we know what it's like to get, lots of emails. So we're seeing it's kind of split. It looks like the majority is saying email. So maybe that's what we'll do. We had a couple that said website, but what I think maybe we'll try to do, and just keep this in mind, when an email goes out, maybe in the subject line, we'll put important, so you know that it's maybe, something that's critical for you to read, news, and maybe we'll put information or something like that. The team will discuss maybe how to identify in the emails, but we'll try to make it so you can just scan it in your email. All right, well, thank you again. And thank you for noting your email. I'll get you added to the list. Thank you though, everyone, for taking your time, taking time out of your day to join us. We really do appreciate it, and have a great day.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.